Hi again, shifters. This is video 4 in the warm-up series that I've been doing for Bamdemonium and Swing Shift brass players. Um, so far, we've done some mouthpiece routines, some lip slurring, and some tonguing exercises. So hopefully before doing stuff in this video, you've already done some sirens. You've done some lip slurs, and you can slur easily through the range of your instrument. And hopefully that feels comfortable. You've been doing some tonguing exercises. Etc. And that's all feeling comfortable. So you've got a nice free-blowing, centered sound. So now it's time to add some fingering stuff to our warm-up. And I used to talk a lot about breathing when I first started to teach trumpet. And I hardly ever do anymore. I found what works better is to assign exercises that require you to breathe properly. If you can play those sirens and those lip slurs and those tonguing exercises, you're breathing fine. When you first learned to walk, you didn't think about your gastrocnemius and your gluteus maximus. You just had a vision of what you wanted to do. Similarly, when you learn to breathe properly for playing trumpet, you have a vision of the sound you want, and you achieve that by listening to the sound you're getting. But I have found that people do these lip slur exercises and they're playing great, and then they start to screw up their breathing when they go to play music they're not very familiar with. And what happens there, I think, is that as soon as you hesitate about a note, you choke up the airstream. As soon as you hesitate, you're going, when you come across a note that's difficult, you go, as you're trying to remember, the key of F sharp or something. So in order to keep all these great habits going that you just accomplished by doing all those warm-up exercises, you now need to be fluent in every key. And so there's many ways you can incorporate scales into a warm-up exercise. If you're really fluent in every key, you can just use scales and melodies as your warm-up and forget all the other stuff that we did. If you're not totally fluent, I would stick with that stuff because I want you to blow freely first. So let's say that you are struggling with some keys. I'm sure everybody watching this can play a C major scale. So we'll play a C major scale. So as part of a warm-up, the next scale to play would be D flat. Go up a semitone. We're going to expand our range into upwards and downwards as we play. So maybe D flat isn't as familiar to you as some. Don't play it if it's not familiar. Finger it and name the notes before you play it. So we've got D flat. Don't forget to use your third valve trigger for the D flat. E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, C, B flat, A, G flat, F, E flat, D flat. So and do whatever speed is comfortable. If it's you might want to do D flat. It's E flat next. E flat. Whatever time. But what is important is that when you figure out what note's coming next, snap the valve into place. Because the other thing that interferes with our breathing when we go to play are valves moving slowly. Because a valve halfway down adds resistance to the instrument. It sounds pretty weird, right? So if you're hesitant about the valve needs to be all the way down or all the way up, you want it to spend as little time as possible in between those two positions. So snap the valve in place. And once you can name the notes and finger it, then play it. So the valves are moving like lightning, but the air is still moving like silk. Okay, keep that in mind. So let's say you know the next few scales. And then you get to F sharp, and you might think, I think I'll just check the fingering. F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. Now, one of the things that I should mention, if you're new to some of these scales, is that sometimes it's easier to remember which notes aren't sharp rather than which notes are. There's only 7 notes, right? And that can be sharp or flat. Once you get to a scale like C sharp, a scale like F sharp we were going to do, there's 6 sharps there. So that means there's only one note that isn't sharp, and that's the B. So suddenly, just add the word sharp to every note name, and you've got the scale, except for B. So F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, E sharp, D sharp, C sharp, B, A sharp, G sharp, F sharp. And then you would play it. Okay, so now if you're already very fluent with all your keys, then you can just use scales as a warm-up, because a scale is just a siren. It's just the same as and the valve just interrupts that so that only the notes of the scale speak. So you could just treat it as sirens if you're very fluent with your keys. So once you get to that point, then you can start doing 2 octaves. And so on and so forth. And if you get to the point where you've done everything 2 octaves, go for 3. If you So I should have warmed up before trying to do that. But that's a way to approach it. Okay, now if you're very fluent in your keys, the other thing you can warm up with is just take a simple melody. And what constitutes simple will depend on different players. You could play Mary Had a Little Lamb in every key, for instance. What key shall I start in? Etc. And then go up a tone. And just play. You can pick any melody you like. It's actually not a bad idea to practice some blues melodies in various keys, for instance. Anyway, so once you've got your fingers warmed up, and that's going to be different for different people, you might want to just do chromatic scales, for instance. So now hopefully you've done all these things. You've done some sirens, some lip slurs, some tonguing exercises. Your fingers are warmed up. So you're playing free blowing. Your fingers are moving, snapping into place. You've got a nice centered sound. You've got beautiful articulation. Now it's time to put it all together and just play a really simple tune that you know. Ideally something you can play from memory. And it doesn't matter what tune it is as long as it's easy. easy for you. So, you know, one of my go-to tunes at the end of a warm-up, just to make sure everything is feeling okay. And sometimes I'll play it and don't like the way I do it, and I'll just restart it and do it again. So, you know, I did some of that. I stopped and started it again. That one little run, my fingers didn't move the way I wanted them to. So I'm listening for, am I in the center? Is it feeling easy? Is it basically in tune? And hopefully everything's coming together by this point in your warm-up. So once you've done all these things, now you're ready to start to practice. I think that's all I wanted to say in this video. Let me see if I did make some notes. Let's see if I've forgotten anything. Wow, if I've forgotten anything, it probably wasn't that important anyway. So there'll be another video to come at some point. I'm not sure what the next one's going to be about. But there you go, video 4 of the warm-up stuff. Enjoy yourself, shifters. Bye.